Do you buy that explanation that he always can't get the data that he wants on fake accounts, what have you, or is he game playing?
No, I don't buy it at all. I mean, if you want an explanation for what's going on in a way that I think most people would understand, if you're buying a house in England, then you find a house and you go around it and you get a survey done. Your solicitors talk to their solicitors. You draw up a contract and you agree a price. You exchange contracts. At that point, you're locked into buying the thing. Elon has done all of those steps, except rather than buying a house, he was going to buy a social media company. So he agreed the price, he had a look around it. He said, no, I don't need to get a survey done. I'm perfectly happy. It's a really nice little social network you got here. And then he gets into it and thinks, wait a minute, this is a lot of money, isn't it? This is quite difficult. And it starts throwing up all sorts of really strange questions like, well, how many fake accounts do you have? Even though one of the reasons he gave for why he wanted to buy Twitter in the first place back in April was, well, you've got so many fake accounts on here, I could get rid of all the fake accounts and make it a really nice place to be. It just doesn't actually stack up. So now, rather as if having exchanged contracts to buy a house, you say, no, I'm not going to buy your house. The people who are trying to sell you the house can go after you for the full amount. Twitter, in the same way as they're saying, well, you said you'd buy us for 44 billion. You've got a penalty clause, which is at least 1 billion. So, you're now on the hook for anywhere between $1 and $44 billion. And quite how this plays out in Delaware is going to be interesting. But Delaware as a court venue has a history of siding with the companies rather than the people trying to get away from them. So
I know it well, and very well and actively politically supported by those wonderful lobbyists in Crystal City across the Potomac from Washington, D.C. There's another possibility, and you are the ideal person to answer this question. When he looked at it, he's the leading expert on electric cars in the world. He even seriously contemplates putting people back in space rockets and going up to Mars. All of that's meat and drink to him. Is it just possible that social media, with all of the complexities that you've written about so brilliantly, is just a bit beyond him?
Well, social networks are really hard to do well.
Yeah.
It looks easy from the outside. You say, well, what you do is you just get rid of all the people who are being troublesome. But actually the people who are being troublesome, such as Elon Musk, tend to be the ones, and Donald Trump, tend to be the ones who actually keep people coming to it again and again. So social networks have this weird problem where it's actually the noisiest people, the very few, the sort of 5%, who actually generate something like 90% of the views. You actually need them. And for all the noise about fake accounts, spam and bot accounts, those tend to be very small proportions. So on Twitter, they estimate it's about 5%, and you'd have to be really skilled in doing the analysis to come up with it. But they've had years to do it, and it's probably somewhere around that figure. If it was 10%, it's not going to make a big difference actually in how the network works. And running a social network is difficult. It's a real-time operation. For Twitter, you're essentially the news network for the world. If it didn't exist, as I often say, you'd have to invent it because it is so useful. But no one's unlocked the value in it. And that's what he said he was going to do. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And it looks like Twitter itself won't grasp that opportunity to really change how the network works.